Hey friend, hey! Welcome to the Unpopular Realist Podcast. This is your safe place and it is a guarantee that you will be getting your life together each and every week. Are you ready? Well, buckle up and let's go. It is now time for the thoughts of the week.
Alright, so y'all already know how we gonna kick the episode off, and that is going to be with my thoughts of the week. It's the you for me. It's you showing up even when you're tired. It's you pushing through even though it's a struggle. Friend, you got this. So if you haven't figured it out, this week's thoughts of the week were about you. It's cause I love you.
Talk your shit, B. Talk your shit, B. Talk your shit, B.
So let me ask you a few questions real quick. When did you lose your innocence? What or who made you believe that being your authentic self wasn't acceptable? Do you know what the imposter syndrome is? Okay, so I'll give you the answer to one of the questions because recently I just discovered that this is something that I am dealing with, and that is the imposter syndrome. I will give you the clinical version of the definition first, and then I'll just put it in layman terms. Imposter syndrome is a psychological pattern in which an individual doubts their skills, talents, or accomplishment and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. So, in our language, it's downplaying your wins, your achievements, or skills because you're afraid, one, to be you, and two, that somebody may call you out on being fake. Does that sound familiar? Well, let's get into it. Now, we all have this special gift of finding faults in other folks without dealing with our own skeletons in our closet. See me? I don't mind giving myself a reality check. I just recently heard of this term, imposter syndrome, and I found out about it on the Clubhouse, and I decided to do my own research. And what I found out was this has been a person that I have become over the years. And there are so many other people who have also become this person. Like, to hear people who have successful businesses, multimillionaires, admitting that they had the imposter syndrome was mind-blowing. So it don't matter what tax bracket you in. No one is excluded from possibly having the imposter syndrome. I've had some amazing jobs in my life. I've developed many talents and skills along the way. But there is always this feeling of inadequacy, like, oh, I ain't did nothing major. I couldn't understand why people made a big deal out of the things I felt were small. I mean, people giving me pats on the back like, girl, I'm so proud of you. You did what? Like, I mean, I really was just like, okay, it really not that deep. One example. At this one job I had, I sold over $2 million in balance transfers for the third and fourth quarter. What I do? Brush it under the rug. I casually talked about it. You know, I didn't understand why I made it seem like it wasn't such a big deal and didn't celebrate it, because that was something to celebrate. $2 million? Hell. Anyway, but it's like I always had this feeling of I could do more. No matter what I do, I just feel like it's not enough. Even when people are like, I am so proud of you. Wow, congratulations. I just feel like there's more to do because I was never satisfied. It's never enough for me. And I was always consistently seeking approval from my parents and other people. And like the thing is, my mom, like growing up, my mom, she gave us our kudos. So I'm not gonna take from her on that. But my dad, he was the type of parent who was less affectionate. So, you know, he didn't say, I love you or I'm proud of you. He never said those things. He just showed us by, I guess, being a father. I don't know how to explain that. But I felt like I needed their approval because back in 2010, I was this close. I know you can't see how close it is, but I was this close to leaving. I had taken my ASVAB for the Air Force, made a pleasing score so that I could do software programming. My parents, even my daddy, my parents going around telling everybody, yes, my baby going to the military. You know how parents do when you do something, and they were excited about it. I felt accomplished. I was happy. But at that time, I was 17 years old, fresh out of high school, and boy crazy. See, I could talk about me. I was boy crazy. So I ended up not going to MIPS or being able to leave to go to the Air Force because I was ignorant and I was young. So I chose love. After that, it was like I was trying to compensate for not doing that to please my parents. My dad especially. It didn't matter what I done or where I worked. I worked at some of the best financial institutions in the country. Done things that people with a high school diploma wouldn't be able to do. And I wasn't satisfied. I was upset. I was angry because it's like, Daddy, see me, Daddy. Are you proud of me? And crazy thing is, my parents were proud of me. It was me that wasn't proud of me. It was me feeling like I hadn't accomplished anything. It was me who downplayed the things that I did because I messed up one time. And that fucked me up from 17, and I am now 28 years old. Still battling with Imposter Syndrome, because I don't want nobody to be like, oh no, she ain't do all that, when in actuality I did all this shit. You feel me? But can we get naked for a moment? Let us remove the masks. I asked a few questions in the beginning of this segment, right? I asked, when did you lose your innocence? And who or what made you believe that being your authentic self wasn't acceptable? I need you to follow me and get into this conversation now. Listen, so when we were kids, we believed that we could be anything in this world. I know growing up, I wanted to have a dance studio, a hair salon, be a ballerina, and the first black woman president all at one time. And nobody ever said that it wasn't possible to do all of those things. And I believed that I could do it. Now fast forward, some of us have kids. We hear them speaking on all of the amazing things they plan to become. And what we do, we gas them up saying you can be whatever you want to be, right? See, children have pure intentions and they're innocent. Once upon a time, we were all just like that, living our truths free from judgment. On this journey we call life, we find ourselves conforming to the environment around us with the sole goal of fitting in. Seriously, who actually want to be an outcast? Everyone wants to belong somewhere, and that's where our lives pivoted. During different phases in our lives, at some point, we were made to feel inadequate. But it's time to refocus and go to the source of ourselves. See, we've created so many boundaries to restrict ourselves to please others who in return can't place us in a heaven or a hell. Like me, growing up, hell, even now, I've always been told I was loud. I've always been loud. First of all, I'm country as fuck, so my whole family loud. It ain't nothing I can do about it. I moved from a small town called Geneva to a bigger town called Columbus. Now, both of them are in Georgia. When I was in middle school, I came from a place where everybody was like me, loud, country, to a place where I was different. My voice was an issue. Everyone around me spoke soft and proper, whereas I was loud. At that time, every time I turned around, it was somebody saying this one particular saying that to this day, I don't agree with. But every time I turned around, someone would sit around and say, women are to be seen and not heard. Like, I was loud. I was still saying orange instead of orange. Yeah, I'm country. I began to change myself. In other words, I put a mask on so that I could be amongst other people and fit in. Now, I ain't do so well with my mask because I just couldn't talk low for a long time. People started to form their own opinions about me simply because I was loud. Eventually, I was like, fuck it. I talk loudly. It is what it is. That is one of few things. Another thing was me trying to relate to people who grew up differently from me. Now, I've never been a person who judged anybody, you know. I grew up in a 2-parent home. I really didn't know what the hood or the projects were until like my late teens. I really felt like Nunu from ATL trying to relate to some shit that I simply couldn't relate to. And the thing is, I had become ashamed of who I was. Like, I was hiding it. It's crazy. People who had wished they had grown up like me or other people in the same situation. But here I go, stupid, young, and naive, being ashamed because I simply couldn't relate. And I began to act like the people around me to have a sense of belonging, which now at 28, like I said, was stupid as fuck. Now, I can't act like this some shit that I just been on because it isn't. I just recently started accepting and loving on my true self. I just recently removed my mask and started owning who the fuck I was. And I don't give a fuck who is uncomfortable with me in my entirety. I'm not for everybody, and I'm going to stand on that shit. Before I change who I am, I will stand alone, cause I'm dope as fuck, and I have some amazing skills, and I am valuable. See, because I just found out about me having the Imposter Syndrome, I now know that I have work to do on me, and that's accepting the fact that I am dope as fuck, and I am gifted. And so are you. I'm begging you. Get back to your true self and you will not regret it. You do not have to conform to this fucked up ass society rules and expectations of what you should or how you should be or act. You too are gifted. You're talented, you're skilled, and you're valuable. You are important. And this is real fucking talk. It's too many of us out here living a lie. Miserable as fuck and depressed. You depressed because you being fake as fuck. You ain't living in your truth, and your soul isn't able to live freely because it's being forced to exist outside of its truth. Why do we give a fuck about what people think of us any damn way? They ain't giving us a pot to piss in nor a window to throw it out of. All they can offer us is a fucking opinion. And the thing about opinions, they're just like assholes. Everybody have them, and all of them fucking stink. We have allowed folks' opinion to have too much control over us and miss out on the true gift of life, being ourselves. Literally, there is no one else in this entire world like you. Why the hell are we letting opinions make us want to be like billions of other people? Make it make sense. It don't make sense. And anything that don't make sense, make a change. That change is you evolving to become your true self, the self that you were intended to be. Just be honest. The reason you still have the mask on is because you don't know who your true self is. And that's okay. It's scary to get to know yourself. Like doing shadow work is scary. It is necessary to do shadow work because we have so many things that we have suppressed within us. I'm pretty sure it's some things that you've forgotten about too. The great thing about getting to the root of who you are and accepting your true self, learning to love and accept your true self will allow you to remove the mask, tear down the barriers, and flourish in your highest vibration. It's time to step out and face your fears. Fuck it, mask off. It's time to be your true self and dismissing those invisible barriers that were drawn to condition us to be like everybody else. Listen, be unapologetically you, boo. Get back to your innocence, regardless of what you've done in your past, reverting to your true self. The being that you were purposed to be is innocent, love. That's it, and that's all, poo.
So what you saying is...
Alright, so the So What You Saying segment this week is actually a review. And this review comes from Sweet's Dream. Hey! And the title of the review is Undeniably Gifted. Well, thank you. And the review reads, it's amazing how someone could be so gifted. Like, this is just the push I need to get my life together. And she really